Good evening. Parshas Korach is a challenging parsha. A challenging parsha. A challenge for Moshe Rabbeinu, and it's a challenge for us as well. First of all, you see, Vayishlach Moshe likrei ledosim v'avirim. And Moshe Rabbeinu sends for dosim v'avirim. They are the perpetual antagonists of Moshe Rabbeinu. And they line up with Korach, which is not surprising. And Moshe sends for them. And not only that, that the Chumash tells us, Vayacham Moshe vayelech el dosim v'avirim. That later on, when they don't respond, when he asks them, come, let's make shalom, they don't respond. So there's a second time. This time Moshe goes to them. So Rashi says, the first time, Mikan she'en machzik b'machlekes. So here you see, you shouldn't be machzik b'machlekes and do what you can to avoid machlekes. Okay, the idea is one like it. So what I would just like to open it up is as follows: that how many of us are involved in machlekes? Of course it happens. But you think of it for a moment, how many machlekes, do we, here we are, a group of people, how many people are involved? Of course it happens. But I would think that this can be applied to many of us at home. At home means if there is a disagreement with our spouses, let us be the first to take the cue from Moshe Rabbeinu and sue for peace. One of my chavrusas said he does it all the time. He surrenders. But I'm not saying that we have to. But the fact that sue for peace and be able and try to be the first one. Don't wait for our spouses to come to us and whatever if there be a disagreement. But the lie says that's a consideration. Machlekes can be at home as well. You see by at home something else too. Even though it's true that those people who were involved with Korach did the terrible evidence, but at the same time, the Madrega of Klal Yisrael was a Madrega that we've never reached before. Lo nitn Tariel, Ochlei Amon. Owen ben Pelis was saved by his wife, Gemara in Sanhedrin. And what happened? She put him to sleep with wine, and she sat by the door and she uncovered her head. And no one would go into the tent to get On. He was a leader in this. He was together, Korach, dosim v'avirim, On ben Pelis. And yet, she stopped it. Well, how did she stop it? They wouldn't go into it. So you see already that people can do terrible errors. At the same time, there are levels of greatness amongst them too, and that shows the level of Klal Yisrael. As a matter of fact, the Arizal says in reference to Korach himself, he had fantastic potential that unfortunately went awry. Tzadik katamari tifrach. Okay? Now, what do you have? Tzadik, the sof tavis of kuf of tzadik katamari tifrach is Korach. So the potential for Korach to have been a great tzadik, as other people who ended up, unfortunately, their potential went awry. Asaph was one of them. Was there. The Darchim Musar discusses this and says, how did it ever become possible that this occurred? Rashi, of course, says that Korach got involved, unfortunately, in the kina of Elitzaph ben Uzziel. And he wanted to be the Nasi. And the way that he went about it was just what he did over here. So the fact is this: the kina taib about kovid motzinas adam benayim, and his approach is it's the desire for kovid, and you see it by Yeravim ben Nevat. Yeravim ben Nevat, and we say he's used as the example of somebody who was indeed a Rasha Marusha, and he was a Machtias Rabin. So here HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaks to Yeravim, and he says to him, Chazor, return, and Ani V'ator uben Yishai Neilech biyachad b'ganei. So here he even put himself, Hashem, Ani V'ator. The Ravin is mentioned first, and then Ben Yishai. But that wasn't enough. The Ravin wanted to have a definite promise. Mi Barosh. Hashem says to him, Mi Barosh, Ben Yishai. He says, if so, no, I'm not interested. So the Darchei Mussar says, here you see. Can you imagine that Yeravim ben Nevat turns down going into Gan Eden with a Kadosh Baruch Hu because the Melech is going to be Barosh? And he says, yeah, that's what Kavod can do. Certainly, now, it's an interesting thing that in the Igeres Teman, the Rambam says to the people who contacted him from Teman, they needed chizuk. And he said to them, anyone who denies the Masorah of Torah through Moshe Rabbeinu is a raya that his ancestors, or he or his ancestors, were not at Matan Torah. So the shaila is, how can that be? Here you have Korach, who was at Matan Torah, there's no question. And yet that's exactly what he's doing. He's denying the Masorah. Moshe Rabbeinu, mitzvahs, fine. He's not disagreeing at this moment necessarily. They came from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, although he's not, we see by a Kai Talash to Kula Tchelas and, Bias Mole Svarim that he had issues as well. But Moshe Rabbeinu made choices of his own. Not, his appointments are not Hashem's appointments. And God forbid, that's the beginning of the end. Because once Moshe Rabbeinu is doing things on his own, it'll soon come that he's doing all the mitzvahs on his own too, and you can't rely on the Masorah. So Korach is doing that. He was there. So the teretz that's given is that when B'mar Devar Mamura, that anyone who disagrees, who doesn't accept the Masorah, is a raya what didn't have shaychus to Matan Torah, is if philosophically, objectively, he makes such a decision. But if a person has a problem with midos, of kinatai the covenant, that's different. And that's exactly what happened here. Kavod led him astray. Now, it's an interesting thing as well that the Moshe Rabbeinu's approach to this is very different than the other situations that occurred. We have a problem with the Egel, and we have the Messiah, and we have a Maisa of the Meraglim. And when a Kadosh Baruch Hu there wants to destroy the Yidden, Moshe Rabbeinu, no Hashem, Mocheini Nami Sifrecha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Achilu Hashem there will be. Why would the Goyim say, all the people say that the people, Hashem could not take the Jews out of Eretz Yisrael and get them through into Eretz Yisrael. Achilu Hashem. Here, it's not what happens. Here he says, In Kamos Kolarim Yamusu, Fukudas Kolarim Yipaket Alehem, Loy Hashem Shulchani, in Bria Yivra, Hashem Ufas Sahar, Adom Espia. Here's a whole different approach. What happened to the Levi Yitzchak Mibarditchev approach? That, that Moshe Rabbeinu was always having. It's Ella what? This was Kfirah. When it comes to Kfirah, there cannot be any doubt. There can be not any possibility that there can be any truth to it whatsoever. Let's say Korach had a heart attack. So people would say, well, he had a heart attack. People have heart attacks. But maybe there was something to it. What does the heart attack have to do with this? Maybe there's something that could have been somewhat true, some shade of it. Chas v'sholom. And that's not so. Therefore, clearly, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was asked, and he followed, they did. Mida. Korach opened his mouth against the Messiah, against the Kadosh Baruch Hu, essentially. And now the land opened up its mouth, the PRS, and swallowed him up. That's the approach per se. There's a beautiful Kliyakar, and it speaks in terms of in Kamos Koladim Yemusun Eila, Ufakudas Koladim Yipokei Aleim. I would suggest look up that Kliyakar. I would tell you the yesod of the Kliyakar. If you said, why does it help to visit the sick? So you will say, well, when I go to visit the sick person, first of all, I take away 1/60th of Amad Ben Gil. Or perhaps it helps because it makes him feel good. Or maybe I can daven for him better. Or maybe I can help prop his pillow, feed him, whatever it is. Okay. That's one. The Korach gives another one, and here it's beautifully accepted. He says, when a person goes to visit a sick person, the visitor is brought closer to Hashem. Why? Because he looks at that person in the bed, and he says, oy vey, if not for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I could be in that bed too. And therefore, he gets closer to Hashem. He thinks that, starts thinking of the ultimates that the person is realizing. And therefore, who brought him closer to Hashem? What was the catalyst that led him to think about the ultimates in life? The sick person. And who gets the zechus then? The sick person. And therefore, sometimes that can make a person well. Or if not make him well, it can make it that he's going to be, he'll suffer less. His situation will be better. That is a reason to visit. So I'm saying to you this: when we go to the hospital or go anywhere to visit somebody, even making a phone call, someone you feel part of the mitzvah, have in mind that we want to become closer to Hashem for this, so that the person will benefit by being the catalyst of our coming closer to Hashem. Abu Shabbos.